Behold the magic of just opening our file. Yep. House rules and how to tabletop RPG.
So to give sort of a broader aspect on this is going to be sort of talking about the concept of house rules in general, and then also going over sort of a lot of the house rules that we specifically tend to utilize a lot, and also some ones that we are just necessarily aware of but don't necessarily utilize ourselves. And just talking about sort of what they're trying to accomplish and why you would want to use a house rule for something like that.
Yes, because strangely enough, the question of what house rules we actually use has come up more than once in our comment section.
Yeah, we've seen the comments. We did promise we were going to make a video on it, so here it is. That being said, I will inform you in advance. It is entirely likely and almost certain, as a matter of fact, that this is not by any means a comprehensive list of all the house rules we actually play with, because we actually did sit down and try and list out all the house rules we utilize. And for so many of them, we've played with them for so long that we may not even really recognize that they are house rules, in much the same way that nobody seems to remember that Monopoly actually ends when the first player goes bankrupt.
And you don't get money when you
when you land on free parking. Like, those are things that aren't in the actual rules of Monopoly, and people just play with them anyways and have for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Another common Monopoly house rule: if someone decides not to buy a property, it
goes to auction. Yeah, it doesn't just you move on to the next player. It actually goes to auction, and you can buy it for whoever wants to buy it. Can buy it for whatever they can get out of auction for it. Yeah, things like that. So it's like, for us, it's like there were some of these where we were thinking like. There are definitely some where we, especially because for things like, for instance, the house rules we use for like D&D, we've played across so many editions at this point between 3.0, 3.5, 4th, Pathfinder, 5th, and now 2024 rules 5th. It's sometimes hard for us to remember what things actually were house rules and which ones are now official rules.
As an aside, WotC is now officially referring to it as 5.0 and 5.5.
Yeah.
So we can just use that term.
I still like calling it 2024 rules.
Yeah. It's just less of a mouthful.
Yeah.
It also takes up less space, so I'll probably use that on slides from now on, if I ever have to actually put them up. But yeah. Getting into this, start with the house rules that aren't house rules that we use. So 1s and 20s on skill checks do not automatically succeed or automatically fail. That's not a house rule. That's just how the game works.
Yeah, there is nothing actually in rules as written that says a natural 1 on a skill check is a failure and a natural 20 on a skill check is a success. That happens for attack rolls.
That happens for attack rolls. In 3.5, it happened for saves, but it does not in 5th edition anymore.
Oh, that's nice.
It doesn't actually matter in 5th edition except in one instance. Because if you roll a 1 on a save, you're still failing. If you roll a 20 on a save, you're still passing because of bounded accuracy.
The only save that has actual specific effects on a 1 and 20 are death saves.
Yes. And the big exception is actually fighters, which I talked about previously, because their reroll a save, add your entire level to the save.
Does mean that if you roll a 1 and you're like a level 18 fighter, you will actually probably pass.
Yes.
That being said, I understand why people play with natural 1s always being a failure, natural 20s always being a success. It adds more excitement, it adds more drama, and especially for a lot of people that were influenced into playing tabletop RPGs by watching like actual play stuff like Critical Role or Dimension 20 or Adventure Zone. It definitely makes for a better viewing experience when somebody rolls a natural 20 and everybody loses their mind, even though it's not something that there's actually a critical success on. If they just go, okay, you got a 20, you do it, and I'm going to throw extra, zazz on there. It makes a better show. It does not really necessarily make a better game.
No.
Because at the end of the day, when we really come down to it, any number on a D20 just has a 5% chance of coming up any given time you roll, assuming you have an actually decently balanced D20. There is not actually any more significance to rolling a 1 than there is to rolling a fucking 14.
No. And also, when a well-practiced character doing an easy task fails on a 5% of the time, that's
ridiculous.
Yeah,
we've talked about that before in like our skill checks video.
Yeah.
There are times where you shouldn't even make people make a roll, but if you are going to make them make a roll...
If the character happens to have really customized their character in order to have a big number in roll, yeah, just fucking let them pass on the one that ended up as a 16 as a result. It's fine. It's what they built their character to do. There's also the problem of it meshes very weirdly with one specific instance when it comes to D&D 5th Ed, which is
There's a thief ability that you get at level 7
reliable talent
called reliable talent. That is basically if you basically can't roll below an 11 on anything you actually have
10.
or 10 roll below 10 on anything you have proficiency in. If you roll below a 10, it's just considered that you rolled a 10.
Yeah. Which means at that point you actually have to make a rule. You actually have to make a ruling, which
If rolling a 1 on a check would override that ability, which is really fucking bad. You should never just make a 5% chance to completely invalidate a class ability.
yeah. And the odd part is precisely because of between like Critical Role, other live plays, and Baldur's Gate, where it actually is a
Yes.
mechanic.
Yep.
People don't actually know this is a house rule, or so that's kind of one of the weirder ones. Also, a house rule that isn't. We almost always default to point buy methods.
Yeah, so point buy for stats, it has almost always and forever been an optional rule, but it's not really a house rule. It is a rule that is written in the books and has been for pretty much all eternity. I mean, I think even second ed actually had point buy rules in it.
Considering the amount of rules in second ed, they're probably somewhere.
Now, like the values for those point buys have changed between editions and various different systems and whatnot, but they are always an optional rule. And I mean, our reasoning behind, like you can see here, like literally, it actually just doesn't even like highlight it as an optional rule. It just goes, hey, you're going to generate stats. Here are some different ways to do it.
Yeah, so the DM basically decides which of these three is how characters are going to generate stats. The one thing I don't think I've ever heard of a DM actually saying standard array, but I think that more than once I have done point buys that have come out exactly as a standard array.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But the point is, you were still given the option to do that or not. You chose that array, not the DM just going, assign these exact numbers to your stats in whatever order you want. I honestly think I would look real fucking funny at a DM that was like, yeah, we're just going to use standard array. I'm like, we're going to do what now?
Standard array also has a bad rep because in previous editions, standard array was just bad.
Yes.
They had much lower numbers. This is pretty much, again, I've accidentally point bought this because you can't buy above a 15 anyway. So it's like, oh no, wait, this is actually pretty reasonable.
Yeah, the primary reason to, again, like, well, when we talk about our house rules, we'll explain our reasoning behind them as much as we can as well. Some of them we just do because this is what we've always done. The ones and 20s thing, we do that because it's the fucking rules as written. We're not going to use the house rule of, a 20 as an auto success on anything that's rolling a d20 because it's not with the way the game is designed and it breaks a lot of things. The point buy, the reason we utilize point buy is because it gives you more control as a player over sort of how your character is built. And while, yes, it may be, awesome to use that 46 drop lows and be like, sweet, I got 2 18s. That's great. You're just as likely to get like 2 8s or 2 6s and have a character that's like, man, this character is dog shit and I'm going to feel like crap playing him.
And I have, doing the rolling system, I have had a character that had a 4.
It doesn't feel good.
Doesn't feel good at all.
No.
And it's like, meanwhile, if like you as the DM go, well, if they get too low, I'll just let them re-roll. It's like, then don't make them fucking roll in the first place. Let them just buy their stats by a fucking balanced system.
Yeah, we played the rule of your total modifier has to be positive.
That's not a house
stats.
rule. That was actually based on 3.5.
That was actually a thing in 3.5.
No, I'm just saying, like, we could buy that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, sure. I had some stellar stats and other stuff. I had a 4.
It just counterbalanced by the fact that you had a 4. You had a thing that you had like a negative. What 4 is like -4?
-3.
8 would be -1. 6 would be -2. Yeah, 4 would be -3. Yeah, it's like having a -3 to a stat, even if it's a dump stat for your class, is still shitty.
Yeah. Just never do charisma checks.
Gee, how did you guess what stat it went into?
Because you probably weren't playing a paladin or bard or rogue.
I had planned on
sorcerer.
playing a sorcerer for that character. Rolled those stats and said, "Yeah, no, I'll just play a fighter."
I mean, the two most dumb stats.
Oh God,
in 3.5.
you were doing roll in order too. Fuck.
No.
Oh,
It was more of I have a stat that low for anything.
the only.
The only thing I'm going to throw that in is going to be charisma.
Well, yeah, because you can't do it in Dex, Con, or Wisdom.
And
strength would mean I couldn't do anything that required physical activity.
Yeah.
So when I started playing with Shiv and our other friends before I ever met Bograt. We actually did start with random generation. The 46 dropped the lowest. The thing is, like, no, we didn't really get together very often for character creation sessions, and we just kind of had a general roll until you got a stat array that you like, and then at a certain point, it's like, okay, what the fuck's the point in this?
Yeah,
It's-
I played for a very long time doing random stat generation as well because, again, for a very long time, the rules under the character creation section, were random generation via dice, and then buried somewhere in a chapter, 6 chapters later
Yep.
was a little sidebar.
Oh no,
about
it's in the DM's guide for like 3.5, and it's not for Pathfinder,
Yeah,
obviously, because Pathfinder kind of
as a reminder, I started playing with second edition.
yeah, and second edition is fuck, if it's even in the player's handbook, I'd be
I
amazed.
think it is, but I think it's literally in like the last chapter of the book where they have a bunch of optional rules.
Oh, okay.
But even then, it was like, yeah, I played for a very long time with random stat generation as well. And it just like most of the time, what it actually does is you have a bunch of middling stats, so your character's not actually exceptionally good at anything.
Yeah. It's also strangely probably the most powerful of the 3 options they present here in 5th edition, because yeah, since it is 4d6 and drop the lowest, your average is like 12 points
Yes.
something, and you're much more. You can't get over 15 in any
In
other
point by,
method.
or
Yeah.
standard array. Like, I will say that it being 4d6 drop the lowest is a much more powerful methodology than random generation used to be, because for a very long time it was just straight 3d6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just roll 3d6 and that's what you got, which means if you got 111, get fucked.
It wasn't an uncommon house rule for 46 roll the lowest, but
No, but again, that was a house rule.
but it was a house rule, yeah.
And then, yeah, the next thing that we do is, again, another optional rule is milestone leveling. So instead of actually like minutially tracking how much XP we have earned, and then we hit a threshold and we go, awesome, we're going to hit the next level. In D&D, and honestly, most games, I mean, even there are some games where milestone leveling just is how it goes. Like, I mean, that's the standard for like Savage Worlds and a lot of other systems.
Well,
But
Savage Worlds is every session you basically just get an advance. It's a skill system,
Yeah.
so, and not a leveling system, so it's
Yeah.
different, but
and then the ranks are X number of
advances. Yeah.
But yeah, milestone leveling is quite literally like you will gain levels when you have accomplished a certain thing within the story of the game. You will, get to, you will accomplish this objective, and that will be a level. The game we're putting on pause involves a world that's sort of enshrouded in mist. And there are actual like mist monsters influenced by this weird mist. Every time we have defeated a significant major mist monster and cleared an area of the mists, we have gained a level. That's just how it's been. We haven't been sitting there tracking like, oh, we killed 10 gnolls and each one is worth 250 XP. And there are 5 of us, meaning we each, because for fuck's sake, that's a nightmare both as a player and a GM, honestly.
Yeah.
And so milestone leveling, again, is a thing presented as an optional rule within the books. It's not, it is presented as, hey, you could do it this way or that way.
Yeah. And you could streamline that as a GM because you're building the encounters anyways. You just figure out what the XP budget was, and it's like, okay, they're going to get this much XP. Just keep any XP to the side and tell them when they level, it works the same way.
But again, you're increasing your cognitive load as a GM by having to actually even worry about numbers rather than just being like, when they reach this point in the story, they're going to level up.
Generally after a boss fight.
Boss fight, significant event, like.
And something that is more on the house rule side, generally, depending on how short a campaign is, I sometimes just do, okay, just level after every session or something.
Yeah, it can depend on what the actual run of it is. The game that we've got coming up, it's roughly every 2 sessions you guys are going to level up.
Okay. But yeah.
Technically, it's every 2 story points, which I'm hoping to be able to get 1 into each session, but that all depends on, how we progress through things. But
yeah.
So after 8 sessions, we will get a level.
I mean, it's up to you guys how much you want to fuck around.
All right. We need to build a boat, go to a completely different continent. Whether we succeed or fail, this is now a sea campaign. In any case. So our most common actual house rule is just removing rules from the game.
Yeah, so again, it's kind of that comment we made at the very end there. These are things that add a whole bunch of fucking cognitive load for no good fucking reason.
Yeah.
There are places where we might add some of these rules back in, but they are very specific circumstances where they would be a relevant thing to keep track of.
Yeah. Encumbrance is like one of the first things we tend to ditch from practically any system.
I can promise you I have never even seen the encumbrance table in 5th ed.
Yeah. This doesn't mean we don't account for it per se. If somebody is trying to
Somebody
do
shows up and
something,
says, like, yeah, I've got 15 longswords. We're going to, no, you fucking don't.
yeah. If you have 15 longswords in like a bag of holding, no, I have 15 longswords on my person. No, no, you don't. Just fucking carry reasonable shit.
But we're not going to be like, oh, you have a strength score of 10. You can't actually carry, 3 meals and your armor. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, part of this relates to encumbrance numbers, and the weight of objects in D&D have always been fucking nonsense. As somebody who has run across a field in full plate mail, I promise you it is not as heavy as you think it is. It's designed to move in and be distributed across your fucking body. It's actually fairly easy to carry when you wear it.
Also, if you're doing encumbrance, you're probably doing a house rule by unintention. Money has weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in modern society, we're either used to paper money, or even more so now, you just have a card.
Digital money.
Yeah. It's like every 10 gold is a pound or something like that. It's like it has a lot of weight, no less.
Coins, because it's not just gold, coppers and silvers also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's technically why the higher denominations of money even exist for Electrum and gems and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is it's intended as a way to be like, oh, well, they can carry around a lot more wealth for a lot less weight. And it's like, or you can just be like, fucking no, everyone has a wallet of holding. Like, fuck off.
Pretty much. Yep.
It's all on the card or all that stuff.
Or you have a fucking piece of paper that says, yes, this person has 10,000 gold. If you hold this, you now have 10,000. Oh, wait, we've reinvented commercialism.
Well, it's just banking.
Yeah,
it's what banks were for in the first place.
Yes.
It's like no one is literally hauling around a chest full of gold with them everywhere they go.
I think we should go back to giant stones. I own that stone there.
Sure.
Do you want that stone? Give me 3 cows.
Yep, everyone just remembers what everyone owns when it comes to giant stones. This works in a small trusting society and nowhere else.
Likewise, the same thing for ammo. So, encumbrance, ammo tracking, basic supply tracking. These 3 are some of the ones where I was talking about, specific circumstances. There's a lot of fiddly bullshit going on here. Under most circumstances, I as a GM am certainly not going to track, and I'm not going to ask my fucking player to track how many arrows do you have on you right now. Well, okay, you fired 5 shots in the last combat and 3 shots this. Who fucking cares? Now, magic ammunition, special ammunition, that's a different story. Sure, you absolutely track those, but you're going to have a handful of those at most. Regular arrows, regular, crossbow bolts, sling bullets, fucking whatever.
Literal bullets.
It's quite literally, what you're doing there is you're penalizing your players for trying to engage in ranged combat. It's do you make your fighter track how fucking sharp his sword is and bust out a whetstone after every 3 combats to sharpen it again? You're not playing fucking Monster Hunter. Knock it off.
Alternatively, we play Monster Hunter.
And likewise with supply tracking, it's if you're traveling between fucking towns, it's reasonable to just oh, did everybody remember to bring enough food? Oh, do you have blankets? Fuck off.
You have water?
Yeah, if you are going into extreme circumstances, if you're going into, say, oh, you guys are having to travel across a vast desert for the next part of this, adventure, and now I need you guys to actually keep track of how many rations you have, how much water do you have have tents, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to bring up at certain points, you're going to make survival checks, you're going to do this, that, or the other, those kinds of things. But that's in a very specific circumstance. I'm not going to ask you to do that in the day-to-day of a campaign. Rules as written, you're fucking supposed to, and it's stupid.
Yeah. It's basically just all the busy work and bookkeeping that is not really the reason why we're playing these games personally.
Yeah, likewise, travel rules. We'll sometimes do random encounter tables if we're traveling certain areas or whatever, which is kind of a standard rule as written. But for the most part, we don't sit there and go okay, well, you need to make survival checks to find out what pace you're able to travel at and how much ground you're able to cover. And oh, you need to rest this often, or you take levels of exhaustion, which are all things that are in, I don't know if they're necessarily in 5th ed, but they're absolutely in various different editions of D&D for long overland travel rules. And again, it's just fidgety accounting bookkeeping bullshit for no reason other than somebody really wanted to masturbate over a table.
Yeah, especially when you start to get into levels above like 1, where none of this stuff costs money. Basically, it might as well fucking be free.
Yeah.
How low the amount this actually costs is trivially ridiculous for any adventuring party. Uh, and the traveling rules we tend to use the most is, okay, realistically, how far are we going to travel in a day?
Yeah, it's how long is it going to take us to get from where we are to where we are going, and if necessary, like, oh, what things might need to happen during that time. So, for instance, like 5th Ed introduced the rules for like bastions, which are sort of a little stronghold your character has. It could be a shop, it could be a monastery, like whatever, and those things happen weekly. So it's like, oh, if we're going to be traveling for like 3 weeks, we need to track that much time has passed for whatever's going on at our bastion. Sure, fine. Or like, oh, we've got XYZ thing, like sometimes there's a calendar going on where it's like, oh, we know we're waiting to talk to like this guy who's going to be back in town in 2 weeks. He went on like a caravan or whatever. We can't go do that other thing we want to do because it's going to take us 2 weeks to get there and 2 weeks to get back, and we're going to miss the guy we were waiting for.
And likewise, there's a lot of rules that are in the Dungeon Master's Guide that we probably don't even read in the first place, to be completely honest. 2014 was actually a lot worse about this than the 2024 one was, or 5.0 and 5.5. But in any case, there's something else I realized talking to my comments. It's like, oh, you're trying to play with everything in the DM's guide. I consider everything in there optional rules or guidelines if I'm really trying to focus on this.
The DMG very much has been for a long time, and it doesn't explicitly state as much, but it really is just kind of, it should be understood. And unfortunately, they didn't really tend to write it with the idea that this is going to be for a DM or GM that has never done it before. Those are like, hey, if you need a rule for this thing, here's the rule that we built for it. You don't have to include all these rules if you don't need a rule for this thing.
Yeah. I have more than several times when people talk about playing D&D in unrelated non-D&D like podcasts, heard them going like, oh, but we play without a lot of the rules. And it's like, yeah, most people play without
most people play without a lot of the rules.
Like any veteran group is going to cut out a good deal of the rules in D&D, especially.
Again, they're extremely circumstantial. It's like, yes, if a situation comes up and we're like, oh, how does that work? We'll go look and see if there is a rule about it in the DMG, but we'll usually do at most a quick cursory search. And if we don't find it immediately within maybe 5-10 minutes, we just go, we'll just make something up. And then maybe later on, we actually find the actual rule and go, okay, if this comes up again, here we now know that it's a thing there. Because it's like one of the things, for instance, as an example of that is like the monster knowledge thing. Yeah. So it has changed many times over the course of many editions about what the role is for a character to know something about the monster they're facing, to be able to even like identify it if it's not a very common monster, or even if it is a common monster, like maybe, oh, do you actually know details about it? Do you know how it works? Do you know what kind of poison that thing has or whatever? And the role you make to do that has changed numerous times throughout it, to the point where there was, even between 5 and 5.5, I believe, they actually changed what some of the checks are for certain monster types.
Yeah, because I know in 3.5, Dragon was like Knowledge Arcana, and in 5th Ed, it's nature.
Yes, because they're considered natural creatures. They're no longer like beings of grand magic, in much the same way that, like, at various times, I think Fae have been either nature or religion.
Religion seems a bit weird to me on that one, but that's
but it's also because of just like how the thing divides. But it's like druids have access to religion as a proficient skill.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the weird evolution of druid fluff in general. So
yeah. But just in general, it's like that's one of those things where it's like that is a rule that actually has come up even in our most recent campaign we've been playing in, and it has come up multiple times. And honestly, it has come up multiple times, but not frequently enough that we actually remember what the fuck they all are. We do have to go look at that table every time, to the point where I literally posted that table in our chat, so we just have access to it when we need to reference it.
Yeah.
But it is a matter of like, it's still a thing that it's like, it's an optional rule that 90% of the time we don't think about, but it does exist.
Yeah.
And like half the time, honestly, if it's a common enough monster, I'm just going to be like, yeah, you know what the fuck a kobold is and what it does.
Yeah. And there's some bit of separating player knowledge from character knowledge.
Yeah, but even
But
then,
even then,
but
that's not really.
but like, yeah, at a sort of, it's like there have been very few monsters that have entered the field that Shiv has put against us that I have not recognized.
Yeah.
Because I'm the fucking weirdo that pours through monster manuals for fun and to look for weird and interesting things. So I recognized most of the things he's thrown against us, even though he's thrown some pretty obscure shit against us. My character doesn't know what the fuck their deal is.
No, and until we get like some inkling of a clue of what we should actually be doing in order to fight them, we don't generally act like we actually know what we're supposed to do. Again, that inkling is sometimes just we made a knowledge check of some sort.
Yeah.
Or in the more common parlance nature, or some in check.
Things that used to be knowledge and now just are called whatever they're called.
Yeah. I shouldn't refer to them as knowledge checks per se because that just most people have.
It's a lowercase k knowledge check rather than an uppercase K knowledge check is what you mean in that instance.
Yeah. That's fine. We just need more knowledge skills. There needs to be 25 different knowledge skills.
We are not going back to knowledge parentheses, craft parentheses.
Craft. Okay, so there was an actual limit to the number of knowledge checks. Craft and profession was
whatever.
A, two different things for some fucking reason, and B, pretty much whatever you can make up. So, a case. One of the more common things as well is just self-regulation. We will just keep our own stupid in check. Like, everyone looked at the rules for circle casting. The DM did not have to roll on circle casting. All of us looked at the rules and said, this is fucking stupid. We're not using circle casting. I am banning it from myself.
Yeah, even if, I mean, and we've discussed this about, circle casting is not nearly as powerful as the immediate knee-jerk reaction to it was, because apparently those people decided to start freaking out before they actually read and understood the rules and how they work. It's still really fucking powerful, and honestly more powerful than it needs to be in most cases, but like, it's not insanely game breaking. Like, oh my god, why would you ever do anything but circle casting?
No, but
like they tried to act like it was.
No, but it is still too much. It is.
Yes. Yeah.
It is still over the line.
If we were building a campaign with the sort of knowledge and idea of circle casting sort of being on the table, absolutely, totally fine if you're adjusting for that power level and making compensations for things that don't necessarily have access to circle casting to bring them more on an even footing. And again, that comes back to we are experienced enough GMs and game designers that we could come up with something to sort of level the playing field.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to. And that's mostly why we were just like, no.
Yeah, we don't want to do that like in mid-campaign or if we're just doing an average campaign. If the campaign is about going balls out nonsense, then yeah, sure, fine.
Like quite literally, if I was running a campaign where I was like, okay, we're going to be doing a Gestalt campaign, everyone's going to have a caster class on one side of things.
Yeah, we'll get that in a minute. Another part of self-regulation and kind of a funny story in general. So in Savage World Supers, the previous edition, there were no limit. So basically, for Savage Worlds, the general normal average toughness, basically for the damage roll, there's not very many health levels. There's like 4 health levels for the character. So you roll a bunch of dice and add them together for damage, and basically if you get everyone's toughness as a base is 4. So if you get a 4, I believe you they suffer a condition. If you get what's called a raise.
Which is every additional 4.
Which is every additional 4, you actually do a damage. So every 4 over that is another damage. So every raise you get is additional damage.
So if you manage to get 20 on the damage roll, you will just take them from perfectly fine to fucking dead.
Yeah. What can add to your toughness is armor. Armor doesn't really add that much. You'll add like a few points. But in supers, there are tons of superpowers that could add to toughness and armor, and this could get into like the 20s. So
What this means is if one character has a toughness of 22 and nobody else in the party has a toughness of 22, as a GM, I can either design a enemy that will obliterate everyone in the party except that one guy and do basically and maybe have a chance of hurting him, or do absolutely nothing to that one guy and be okay against everyone else.
So in designing my character, I knew this was the case and kind of went, okay, I'm designing the specific tough guy character in the party. So I actually reeled in the toughness to somewhere around like 10 or 12 and more built him actually to regenerate.
Yeah.
And did not tell the DM. And the DM also built the, which was Bograt, built the encounter in order to have like this one big attack that he can't do very often. It was specifically supposed to be aimed at my character. And immediately took my character to the ground because I didn't actually build my character the way he thought I did. So this is a fun little instance of neither of us communicating with each other. So we didn't realize that, we both solved this from our own ends and probably overdid it.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like that when you realize, oh yeah, this is going to be awful for the GM to actually balance, so I'm going to keep my character in line so this isn't too ridiculous, is something I should actually tell him.
Yeah. And likewise, that kind of also ties into the sort of GM encounter design, especially bosses.
Yeah.
The communication is really important. Understanding what your players are playing and how they've built their characters is important in designing encounters. And in particular, like for instance, the upcoming D&D campaign that we've got coming that I'm running, that I'm DMing for. As I mentioned, the majority of the player characters are casters. In order to make a tough encounter, all I really have to do is put one dude in there that specializes in counterspelling.
Yeah.
like that's all I got to do, and all of a sudden I have escalated this encounter to a much tougher encounter than I could by throwing 10 extra dudes into it.
Yeah.
So it's like that's a lot of system knowledge stuff.
Yeah. And in general, knowing what your character or knowing what the players are actually capable of and reeling it back when possibly reeling it back when you may have over-designed things, preferably in a way where the characters don't actually notice, is generally a good thing. And I especially kind of have to do that because I tend to get a lot more creative with boss design. I don't use as much pre-constructed stuff.
Oh, you got no idea the shit I got prepared for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm both looking forward to it and frightened.
Yeah.
Like, again, as I mentioned previously, I have made a whole slew of custom monsters for this campaign, not the least of which are multiple boss level characters, including 2 that are solo elite legendary levels.
And also conversely, when it comes to just the standard bog fare of how games are or how games design like their challenge ratings and encounters, even outside of D&D, I don't trust them for shit. Partially because 2 of my players are Bograt and Shiv, and they have a good amount of that they tend to do a good amount of optimization. So and on the other side of the scale, yeah, sometimes the challenge ratings in like 5th edition are just fucking wrong.
Yes. No, fifth Ed has a very serious problem with CRs where, like, for some reason there are like CR2 enemies that have like 95 health and an 18 AC. It's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about this? Or like the CR1 quicklings that have 3 attacks per round.
Yeah, that's the one that
and a good enough to hit and deal enough damage that they will basically murk everything but maybe a level 1 barbarian.
Yeah. They are weirdly balanced, and the problem with them being weirdly balanced is it actually really their CR should probably actually jump significantly depending on how the player character's party is built.
Yeah, the balance of quicklings is it is rocket tag. They have like 10 HP and like a 13 AC. If you hit them, they fucking explode, and it's not hard to hit them. But if they go before you do, and they will because they have like a +5 to initiative, they will fucking murder somebody in one turn.
Yeah.
Real quick, Vince, pass me up.
There we go. Yep. But yeah, moving on to the next section. So getting back to that thing, for a decent chunk of time, literally for levels 1 through 20, they gained a level every week, pretty much as a way of just playing with house rules and also just letting them go all up themselves.
Testing mechanics and
testing
stuff.
mechanics. I did a Pathfinder 1st Edition Gestalt campaign. So Gestalt is you take two classes and you shove them together. You basically get the better of the two and everything, and you get all of the,
Yeah, anything that would be overlapping, so like base attack bonus, saves, whatever, you take whichever one is better. Anything that doesn't overlap, you just get both.
Yes. This means if you shove two casters together, you have two casters worth of spells. This is not anywhere near as good as you actually would think it would be.
I don't think any of us ever actually did two casters. I think we
No.
almost always did one caster and a marshal of some sort or something fucking weird.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Like the time I did the Gestalt, which was the summoner that did the horde of Eidolons, so that they were the cannon crew for my artillery piece.
Yes.
From the artillery side of things.
That's phenomenal.
It was
Yeah.
great.
The only limitation I put on that one is you could not multi-class. This was not as big a deal in Pathfinder in 3.5. It got
Yeah.
really stupid.
Yeah, so strictly speaking, the way Gestalt normally is built is you are essentially building two characters on either side of a slash.
Yeah.
And so in normal Gestalt rules, if you're just running baseline, like, I mean, as quote unquote normal as Gestalt rules get, under normal Gestalt rules, you can do multi-classing on either side of it. You can't cross it. So like, you can't like be like, oh, I've got like 3 levels of this class on this side. I'm going to now take level 4 on this side. But it is still like 2 full builds on either side. So you could do multi-classing.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us would have wanted to do that anyways, because fuck is that a nightmare.
That's a nightmare. Also, it was Pathfinder first, anyways.
Yeah,
where you don't generally
multi-class is bad. Prestige classes are a bad idea.
But one rule that I introduced for one session, and then we just kept it for the rest of the campaign.
It was good.
Because it was just good. Was the clock system, which I stole pretty much wholesale from World of Warcraft minis. Obviously, some modifications, so it actually worked in D&D. But yeah, so a round, I guess is the best way of putting it, consists of 10 ticks. Each player has a D10 that starts at 1, and that's when they'll take their turns. So the only time initiative actually is going to matter all that much is on the first turn earn, because initiative still determines who goes first on that tick. And then they just take a turn as normal. A standard action will move their die up 3. A move action will move it up 2, or a full round, or if they do both, will cost 5. If they decide to do a swift action, nothing else, they just move up 1. They can also delay by moving their die up as much as they want. And they go again when that number comes up on the ticks.
Yeah, and once you go over 10, you roll back around and are going in the next sequence.
So if a fighter can not charge that round and would have to like double move to even engage anyone, they could just take 2 ticks to move into a position where they can charge, and then just charge on tick 3. Especially if they went later in the round and a spellcaster had already like cast a spell, they could get into position, and since them casting a spell would be 3 ticks, they would actually be able to get the charge off before the caster would go. It actually just rebalanced the game a bit more. It still didn't help as much in favor of casters, but it was a bit more there. And also, your initiative didn't matter as much because it just everyone kind of started to go at staggered ticks. So it's like tick 2 would come up and no one would go, or tick 3 would come up and only be one person, and just because of what actions they were doing. Also, if they had a bunch of different swift actions, they could just do those as singular ticks. It created a lot of different options that they could do within a system where that's actually very much what you're trying to do anyways.
Yeah, and this was us tacking it onto an existing system as well. It did build a lot of design space. Vince played around with it a lot from the enemy design, actually, where he actually had enemies. For the one that he specifically introduced it in, the major enemy we were facing actually had ways to manipulate his own die to where he was on the pool. But if we were building this as a core mechanic of an actual system we were designing, we could integrate that a lot more into even the availability for like players and player classes. We didn't do that in this one because we didn't want to sit there and like design whole abilities for, every possible class, because we were switching classes all the time in that to try out different builds. But yeah, it was a really interesting mechanic. It was actually really fun to play, and it's definitely, if we ever get around to designing our own full TTRPG system, and rather than doing like conversions or things like that, it is definitely a mechanic I think we would probably incorporate, because all of us really enjoyed it.
Yeah, because it actually worked pretty well. It also would let me do stuff like I could do different costs for the actions they don't have, because that's actually how it worked in Wild Minis. Like the different actions that the
just
characters
had their own costs based on the
costs.
action, rather than just being standardized into, hey, it's this type of action, this type of action, this type of action. Again, this was us kludging it into an existing framework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works surprisingly well on top of 3.5. and Pathfinder.
Yep.
And as you can guess, if your die goes over 10, you just subtract 10. It basically just loops around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you essentially just move into the next turn.
Yeah. It's even easier to grok if you have a literal dial that goes 1 to 10 like the minis did, because you just click it over that many spaces.
I mean, we just usually just used a D10.
We did use a D10 because you guys understood how the mechanic worked straightforwardly. But like, as
God,
a
I'm thinking
physical
about it more now
example,
too, because you can also just like have like spell duration, for instance, and spell duration just is in number of ticks rather than
Yeah.
1 minute or 1 round or whatever.
Yeah. Uh, so as you could also tell from this, as far as dealing with spell duration was concerned, mostly you don't have to, because 3-5, it's like, okay, the spell lasts a minute per level. Fight's gonna be over. I don't
Yeah.
fucking care. But in general, 6 seconds is going to be 5 ticks. 5 ticks. Nothing has a short enough nothing has a short enough duration that it really mattered all that much.
Yeah.
The only other thing that might come up is immediate actions, but you get one between your turns, and it takes away your next swift action. So that's generally how it works in the rules, anyway. So I don't have to really worry about it. I was more surprised that just nothing broke was the odd
Yeah.
part.
It laid in pretty much perfectly. Like it would be if we weren't as experienced of players, it probably would have been harder for us to adjust to playing with it. But outside of that, like less experienced players would have taken more time to understand how it worked, but it still wouldn't have broken anything. It just worked really well.
Yeah. And kind of finally, future things that we have planned. So Bograt in his upcoming 5th edition campaign plans on doing group checks for characters.
So this is the thing I shamelessly stole from Brendan Lee Mulligan, the primary GM for Dropouts Dimension 20, and the current GM for the 4th season of Critical Role. So he does a lot of group checks, and the way that the group checks are kind of always going to be a thing in D&D. When the group is trying to travel through the wilderness. Okay, everyone make me a survival check. Oh, you're trying to sneak into this place. Okay, everyone make me a stealth check. Thing is, what this ends up doing is it ends up like penalizing you for like, you got a paladin. Guess you guys are never fucking succeeding on a stealth check. Just like not, whatever kind of thing. So what he actually tends to do is he actually takes the median roll. He actually has everyone roll, and they take the median. Now, this does mean that it is in some ways a little bit of a penalty on people that do specialize in it. You've got a rogue that's really good at stealth. It's like, yeah, you're going to get he's got a plus fucking 12. He's going to get a huge roll. But like, it's going to be, hampered by the guy that gets a 4. But in the long run, it ends up being fairly even. And it is that anyone who is engaging in this group activity, you're going to make your rolls. We're going to take the median. It's decently fair. It provides a lot more utility, and it makes it so that it is still possible to do these things. And from a narrative standpoint, it kind of makes sense because the guys that are good at the things are going to be there and like notice the guy, trying to clank up an armor and be like, here, let me shift that, strap this down tighter. Don't step in those, they're going to be helping out because they're like, oh, we're all trying to sneak in. I'm not just going to go on my own good graces and assume that everyone else is as good as I am. You fucking help, you do it as a group. You're fucking doing it as a group. You're not taking really individual action at that point. You are acting as a group, and a decent way to emulate that is to take median rolls and sort of let it fly. Now, from watching many seasons of Dimension 20 and what he's done in Critical Role thus far, in general, it tends to lead to more successful group roles. Just in general, because you're very likely going to have at least a few people, depending on your party size, obviously, but if you've got 4 to 6 people, chances are at least half of them are going to be at least decent at something, even if they don't necessarily have, say, stealth as a proficient skill.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have a monk who's going to have a good dex, or a fucking, you're going to have somebody that has a good dex if they're not necessarily proficient at stealth. So they're not going to get, a 22 like your fucking, rogue is going to get, but they might get a 16, which is still going to pull up that median, and make it more likely to succeed. Another one that I'm probably going to pull that he tends to do, and this is a very circumstantial thing. This is not like you do this every time. But he will sometimes do things where if it's a more sort of chance-based roll and things could go either very well or very poorly, dependent upon how this rolls out, is, okay, roll 2 d20s and take whichever one is furthest from 10.
That's an interesting type of pseudo.
It's a way to make an extreme situation happen one way or another, basically.
Yeah.
What happens when there's a tie?
at that point, I've never seen it come up in a tie. He doesn't do it that often because, again, it's really only for very extreme circumstances. I don't know what he would do. I would probably give it in favor of the players. I would give the highest one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because, again, as a GM, my role is to make sure the players are having a good time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rule in favor of the players every time. So like when I'm using it, it's always going to be, if there's a tie, it goes to the higher of the two.
Also, in terms of like the group skill check, making it the median makes it much more likely that they're actually going to attempt them in the first fucking place. Because if you have the clunky paladin, it's like, okay, we're not going to stealth. Why bother wasting time? With
Well, it's either we're not going to stealth or we're going to send the rogue in alone, and he's going to find this fucking encounter and come all the way back out to everybody and bring the group in at that point and just waste everybody's fucking time.
Yep.
Or the rogue is stealthing, so he won't be seen in the first turn of combat, but everyone else is right there or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, other things that is going to take me working on quite a bit is Sentinel's RPG advancement. I do fully acknowledge that the collections in Sentinel's RPG, which basically give you like 3 options, the most straightforward of them is just you
set the die.
You can set the die after rolling to maximum on one of the dice. This is a form of advancement, and it is a powerful enough form of advancement. If you have a good chunk of them, when you have like 8 of these, yeah, you're basically freaking going to be a ridiculous character that can max out everything. It is also an incredibly fucking boring form of advancement that is little better than stat incrementation of like, yeah, a level 20 fighter in first edition D&D is way more powerful than a level 1 fighter, but if
he's not actually doing anything any different. He's just doing them with bigger numbers.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, this is a way more powerful character. It's just not interesting. Like, modern advancement when it comes to characters is they get to do different or special things. And I kind of want to look for they get to do different or special things.
Yeah. The big thing is, like, yes, I'm not saying anyone who likes the Sentinel system perfectly as it is wrong to do that. It is a perfectly competent system. We quite enjoy it. For what we are looking to get out of a game, the progression that exists in that system is not enough to keep us coming back to it. Yeah. By the time we are done with our current, putting our current Sentinels game on pause, we will have essentially played through the end of our second collection. If we go into our third collection, the only thing I have to show for it is we did a rewrite after our first collection because we had initially done the full random generation. Yeah, we did a rewrite to be able to do our selected generation.
Yeah, to explain to people who haven't watched the Sentinels video, basically there's 2 different types of character generation. One where you roll dice and it gives you some options based on what you roll, and one where you just pick the options.
We did it at first by rolling and taking the random stuff, and then after you finish your first collection, which is a set of 6 sessions essentially, you get the opportunity to do a rewrite, which is you can basically change your character. And by default, the rewrite is done using the selection method. It's not done using the random roll method. Even if we were given the option, we would have done the selection method because the only reason we did the random generation method in the first place was to kind of test and see how it felt and what kind of characters we could put together using that. And then we got more familiar with the system and went, okay, here's the kind of character I want to play. Here's the thing, though. As a player, from my perspective, getting to the end of the second collection, I would have no real interest going into the third collection with the exact same character, but also just being able to fully rewrite the character isn't interesting to me because I like a lot of the things that my character currently does. That doesn't mean I want to keep doing it for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to do more things, have the same character actually progress. And there have been a lot of people, like I've read those comments too, where they're like, well, you just don't understand. It's not the style, it's the style of the thing, blah, blah, blah. The comic book characters have their powers and they do what they do. And it's like, you have never read a fucking comic.
Yeah, comic book characters come up with new shit all the goddamn time.
I hate to break it to you. Barry Allen pulls new powers out of his asshole known as the Speed Force every 3 fucking pages.
Spider-Man comes up with brand new creative ways to use webbing and other stuff all the goddamn time.
Yeah. It's like, no, dude. Yes, maybe for, 6, 10, 12 issues, maybe for a run of a story of, a given comic, their powers are fairly consistent and stable. Superheroes in comics come up and get new powers all the fucking time.
Have you people read the list of Superman's powers? Jesus.
That
barely
that's a product.
counts.
That barely counts. That's a product of a Silver Age.
Yeah, that's the Silver Age. We even discounting the Silver Age.
Yeah. But yeah, and sometimes these powers are just tacked on top of what they have as normal. It's not like a rewrite of how their powers work.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like when Superman split into two Supermen, one made of blue energy, one made of red energy, and had an entirely different power set. It's like, no, actually, it just turns out that like his heat vision also can be used to like control nuclear radiation. Like that just happens sometimes.
Yeah. It also actually kind of lets me deal with the overly scaling problem of like, okay, yeah, if you guys, it is kind of a point of if you guys do have like 8 different collections in order
We're
to
never going to fail a roll.
We're never going to fucking fail a
We're,
roll.
we're gonna get +4s on everything we need +4s on. We're gonna get outstanding successes on every overcome we ever make. Like
yeah, so it lets me kind of replace that with something else too.
Yeah. It's like it's important to still have those options available to us because, again, the system is mechanically built around the players having the ability to do the things that collections allow them to do. But, yeah, there's no progression to a character. And, again, despite what some YouTube commenters may say, comic book superheroes absolutely 100% progress in their abilities.
Some, especially like rookie characters, tend to actually get better at doing the job of being a superhero.
Which is the other
except
thing
for Peter Parker.
Which is the other thing that's fascinating to me because like that's the other thing that's absolutely fucking mind-boggling to me because as I recall, the base setting of the Sentinels RPG is that you, as the player characters, are actually students at the Academy for Superheroes.
Yes.
Which makes it even more fucking baffling to me that there is no progression system.
Okay, the students, that's one basically origin point for your characters.
It is, but it's
very much intended there to make it easy to make characters. They also discussed on their podcast letters page several other different things that were happening.
You could absolutely have it be your established hero teams or whatever, but
yeah, it's just here's more other ways for characters. Like there's no longer a virtuoso of the void. There's virtuosos of the void because he's actually giving out instruments now.
Right, but it's still extremely a case of like for one that where one of the like clearly the primary default setting is intended to be, hey, you guys are students at the fucking training institute for superheroes. Yeah, no, you had never actually learned anything new.
Yep.
Yeah.
What? How? How do you fundamentally fumble the bag that fucking badly in your design?
Because they were designing a bunch of one-shots, is basically... I don't think the game was actually designed or really intended for anything past, like, 12 sessions. Cause,
I could see it.
Yeah. Because of all the pre-printed stuff for it is not... It doesn't look like it was actually built to go on for as long as some people want to run campaigns.
Yeah, they weren't building a game to be like, oh, people are going to play this for like, they are going to start and be playing the same campaign for 2 years. It's like, no, they're going to play it for a couple months and then maybe come back to it and play a different campaign, which is, I mean, fine. It is a way to design, but I just don't think it's, I think excising the possibility of running a longer game is a bad idea from a design perspective.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, yes. So if I ever wrote a World of Darkness 20th anniversary game, so any of the World of Darkness 20th anniversary books has made me remember exactly how much I fucking despise the core mechanic of the base storyteller system, even after they've revised it several times.
Listen, just because it has possibly one of the worst botch rules in all of TTRPG history.
Yeah, so regardless of what storyteller game you're running, whatever World of Darkness White Wolf game you're running, you're going to be rolling a bunch of d10s equal to the amount of dots you have in either the base stat, which is called an attribute, plus a skill, which is sometimes not called a skill. Again, I'll get 5th
talent, skills, and knowledge.
Well, 5th edition, they are actually skills now.
Yeah.
Which, not only are the skills, they are physical, social, and mental skills, which is fucking great.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, these actually correspond to the
attributes
categories. So I will fully give them credit for that being
I mean, they always kind of did. They just used a lot of words when they didn't have to, which is just the World of Darkness in a nutshell.
Yeah. But in any case, for the storyteller system, the storyteller sets both the difficulty that you have to hit, which is going to be between 2 and 10. Realistically, you should never make it 10. And why the fuck are you rolling if it's 2?
Yeah.
And the amount of successes they need as well, because fucking reasons. And ones are negative successes. So they cancel out successes if you roll ones on these dice. And if you roll more ones than you do successes, you botch, which also means that the more dice you roll, the higher your odds of botching are, for fucking reasons. Like, there are mitigating factors that they put in there. There's also, like, a recommended house rule of, okay, the first one doesn't count, but it's like, okay, just, you didn't need both the catastrophic failure from rolling ones and the increasing difficulty and the I have to determine the amount of successes they need and just pick fucking some. It's like
You have put so many qualifiers on your core success mechanic.
you put so many qualifiers in your core success mechanic, and back to that, you're increasing the cognitive load of making a fucking skill check by a lot. And also, this was designed in the early '90s, so it's not like this is aged pretty much like milk does. And in the time since they came up with the original core mechanic in Vampire 1991, they have made 3.5 different revisions to this at least, including like Chronicles of Darkness, which it just has a difficulty of 7, and you just need a certain number of successes. And V5 does something similar but different as well.
A certain number of successes and by default exploding 10s.
Yeah. Also, the other bad part of World of Darkness based system is inevitably the amount you can build your character wrong, in the sense that the amount of experience you have, virtual experience you have starting, depends on how you built your character.
Yeah. Where you actually put your freebie points and everything.
Yeah. This does not get fixed in Chronicles of Darkness either, but it is fixed in like God Machine Chronicles. I have no idea in V5 because I have no idea how that works.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at V5 that much.
But
I know it exists.
Yeah, but in any case, if I ever run one of the storyteller systems, I'm probably going to rip rules from future from either the storytelling or the V5 system. Yes, by the way, this is the annoyance. So, storyteller system is the generic name for the World of Darkness games. For the Chronicle of Darkness games, it's storytelling system. I don't know if V5 has actually made, or the 5th edition actually has a name for their system, and I don't care because they have 3 games, so they don't really need. No. Let's see. We have storyteller, storytelling, storytelled.
Storytell. I like it.
But in
will storytell.
In any case, I am not leaving those rules alone.
I do like the story told system. It's a game you play entirely in past tense.
Yeah. All right, what did your character do? Let's roll.
We start at the end of the campaign and work our way backwards.
God, that would
I have at least 2 games that are like that. That is pretty much Gentleman's Entomology Club, where you sit around a table and one person tells about the time they went on an adventure to search for a rare insect. The person to the left of them is their rival, who suggests complications that occurred as they encountered the story, and the person to their other side is their companion, who was there to assist, who can interject helpfully to prompt the story to move forward if they get stuck.
That is awesome.
I think he explained the entire game, by the way.
Yeah, that is it. That is the whole game.
It's collaborative storytelling based.
Yeah. It is 100% collaborative storytelling.
But it is all told in past tense because you are back at the club telling the tale of the time you went and did this thing, and you are supposed to tell it in past tense.
Yeah.
So there I stood in the deepest jungles of Borneo.
I also put the caveat on here that is, if I ever run a World of Darkness 20th anniversary game, I'm not promising I'm doing that.
Well, clearly the answer is we're going to run Street Fighter 20th, but use the V5.
No, it's not a World of Darkness game. I don't know how I'm presenting that one, but we'll get to that when I get to that. Obviously, I use the cover. I just present World of Darkness Combat. All right. But yeah, just some general advice when it comes to house rules. TTRPGs are a collection of paper instructions to be followed, changed, or ignored to play a nebulous game that's purpose is fun with your friends, and not a contract carved in stone and signed in blood.
Again, if you're a competitive D&D player, get help.
Well, except that one game where I carved the rules in stone and require a blood sacrifice.
I was going to say, but wait, we're not supposed to be signing shit in blood?
I believe it's
God
called
damn.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Why do I feel really
Like all seriousness, there
This
is
explains a lot of your health issues. No, it doesn't. But
there is, for some fucking reason, like actual like competitive D&D, and I do not and will not ever understand it. Again, seek help.
But yeah, furthermore, every player at the table is going to have different tastes and want different things from a game. So feel free to modify or maximize for maximum satisfaction. Really, that is the purpose of house rules. It's just to make the game better for you and your group. Except when you're playing Rollmaster, you know where you're getting to.
You deserve it. You know what you did.
Yeah, play Rollmaster.
Yeah.
You looked at that book and went, ooh, 35 pages of tables? Sign me up.
This is why most systems tend to have something like, as we have there, the golden rule or rule 0, which is typically a rule just saying,
Distressingly few systems actually have that written out.
More
Yeah.
have it now than before.
Yes.
It's like, that's generally a rule that says, do whatever the fuck you want, and people still ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, because why would they write the rule if they didn't want us to use the rule?
They did. They said you could ignore it. It's a
No,
rule that
that's
says
not
you
in the
can ignore
rules.
it.
There's not a table. It doesn't have numbers. That's not a rule. That's fluff text.
Okay, I'm not going to make the golden rule on
Parts
it.
that are even in italics. I'm not reading that.
I'm not going to make the golden rule on a table, so you can't ignore it. The golden rule, cite table 22.b.
Flow chart.
Yes.
Does this rule make your game better? No? Fucking ignore it. Yes? Choose to ignore it. Do you care? No? Fucking ignore it. Yes? Go for it.
Yeah, just assume this is stapled to the front of your any RPG you run. If I will, as much guff as I was literally giving the storyteller system a minute ago, the fact that this is basically
In
the
there,
first
yeah.
role when they start explaining their mechanics, which is also saying to give them guff for because it's like chapter 6 or something.
Look, broken clock, man.
The fact that this is the first thing they present you with a bold title.
Look,
is
again,
very much-
as previously discussed, if there was any system which was going to have the rule that says, hey, if you don't like a rule, throw it out, it's going to be the storyteller system where they seem to resent the fact that they had to make rules to fuck up their story.
I wish they made less. If you
Not that we're making rules, we have to make a lot.
Yeah. Anyone who has actually watched those videos, if you've seen where I get to like the systems chapter, I go over like one or two things. Like the vampire ones were one where I got on it the most. I think I showed you like, okay, here's how you drive. That's for every fucking skill in the game.
Yeah, the actual like rules mechanics like chapter of any given one of these 20th anniversary books is seriously like 45 pages.
Well, I mean, the thing that throws me off
Every
about
one of
these
those books is like 600
we're
pages
going
long.
through and it's like, oh, we're in like page like 50 or 60. And it's like, reference this thing in page 622. And it's like, fuck me.
Okay, so the 20th anniversary editions really are several books shoved together.
They are, but it is
But
still
it
like
is still, like-
600 pages.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
paper.
It's like 400 to 500, but it's still a lot.
I'm pretty sure Mage 20 is like 584 or something like that. I remember. I've had to go through it.
It's not the biggest book.
No, I know
I'm
it's
currently
not.
editing it. It has the other ones have 10 chapters. Wraith has 13.
Jesus.
Like at that point, just split it into volumes as a collection.
Okay, so Wraith is adding 2 other games to Wraith, or sub games to Wraith.
It's very much like with those books, I wish they had just done like, here's the rules book that has all the relevant rules. And those piles and piles of fluff and random stuff that's also in there, which is perfectly fine. Put that in other books so I can have one concise book of rules that isn't 600 pages.
It's
Specifically because they're the anniversary edition, so they're amalgamating a lot of stuff across all the different versions.
and because of how it was done, because it was originally a Kickstarter for Vampire, and that was the only thing they were probably planning on doing, honestly, when they did that one. But it was successful enough that they basically just kept doing all of them. Yeah.
Fair.
So And at that point, they didn't have the base book, and then here's the expansions. And in fairness, it does mean that you don't have to buy a base book and then buy another book to have a
Yeah.
playable RPG. You do have the whole thing right there.
While we're on the subject of our World of Darkness videos, I just do want to directly address the one YouTube commenter that said he couldn't wait for us to cover Prometheum. Yeah, you can. We're not doing it, man. We can't.
Oh.
We will. But
We'll
God,
cover
you're not going to enjoy us covering Prometheum.
Well, he might. It depends on what his opinion of Promethean is. But yeah, that will be Chronicles of Darkness, which will. I plan on doing Old World of Darkness first
yeah.
and foremost. Then when we're done with Old World of Darkness, might move on to something else. Chronicles is absolutely on our list.
Yeah, we'll take a
at some
break.
point.
We'll get into Chronicles of Darkness when we are dealing with Chronicles of Darkness. We will inevitably cover Promethean. If you think we're going to be positive about Promethean, I'm going to just warn you in advance. We're not.
Okay, the world isn't about Prometheus.
I mean, I'm going to be fair to it, and probably like offer some editing if you really fucking want to run this. But yeah, we'll get into it.
If you really want to run Promethean, take this entire section where it talks about how any group of Prometheans make the world more rapidly burn and everything around them hate them, and fucking rip it out of your book.
Especially when you realize that this applies to each other.
Yes.
It's like, how am I supposed to have a coherent group of players?
Anyways, we should move on.
Yes. So the back of the book. Everyone plays with house rules, even when they think they don't. H.G. Wells, probably.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So games be hackable, and the author is metaphorically shot in the face. So do as thou wilt is the whole of the law. House rules for the house rules god. Also, don't be afraid to both experiment and admit when the experiment has failed or at least needs a tweak. At the end of the day, all tabletop RPGs are intentionally incomplete games waiting for you to finish them. Also, as a complete aside, finding the back of the book for 100-year-old book was easier than finding the back of the book for the fucking 4th edition D&D.
Fair.
Yeah, one of the big things about...
You realize if you wanted a shot at the back of the book of 4th edition D&D, we have it.
Yeah, I could have gone over to Weldenstein with my phone.
I wanted a decent scan.
Or I could have pulled out the
I
book
did-
and pulled it through my phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Actually, I think Ludwig might have sold most of his 4th ed stuff.
I do still the 4th ed books. I'm pretty sure they're actually Wilkins.
There's a good chance on that. All to say that was more effort that I was willing to go to. But
Fair.
I even know where the book stack is. So.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the big thing is the driving purpose behind house rules, and the reason we use every house rule we do is because it makes our time more. It makes us have better use of our time in playing our games and makes that time more enjoyable.
Yeah.
If you want to change something or ignore something or add something that is going to have that effect on your game, fucking do it.
Yeah.
As long as everyone at your table is cool with it, go for it. If there are people at your table that aren't cool with it, talk it out, try and find what would make them cool with it. You know, what needs to happen, what needs to change, what are their concerns with it. Because again, at the end of the day, these are games to be played to have fun with your friends.
But I'm a competitive D&D player.
What is wrong with you?
Well, in that case, you don't have friends. And also, I don't think know what fun is. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here for today for In Hindsight. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back in just a little bit to continue Super Raymu Sundays. We continue our playthrough of Fantasy Maiden Wars. But until then, I've been Bograt.
I've been Hunter Green.
I've been Shiv.
And I'm Vincent, reminding you that hindsight is 2020.